The first time I went into a pithead baths was in a colliery in Gwent in about 1982. And I had to take all my clothes off, and all I had was my camera and my flash gun. And hence the miners called me Flash. My nickname was Flash. But I remember going into the pithead baths and all the showers were switched on, all the steam was coming from the hot water, and my lens kept steaming up. So I had to keep continuously cleaning my lens because it was just all misty. I couldn't see a thing through the camera. And I photographed a guy called Ivor Herbert, who was known as Ivor Religious. And he was in the foreground, and I could see one of the miners in the background totally naked, so it made a great composition for a photograph. So I took a few photographs. And Ivor looked at the camera and he was smiling. He was a lovely guy. And some weeks later I went to tea to Ivor's house, and he had this photograph on the mantelpiece. And because he was very religious and everything, he actually cropped my picture. So he cut the naked miner in the background out of the picture, and it was just a nice picture of him in the pithead baths. And I thought, well, on one hand, I thought it was really great and funny, and I was honoured to have my photograph on his mantelpiece. But on the other hand, he cropped my picture that I was really proud of. So, but the other miner in the background, some years later, during the miners' strike, I went to London because some of the miners' wives were appearing in court because they'd be collecting on the streets of London. And during the journey, one of the ladies said to me, "Oh, you photographed my brother in one of the mines." And I said, "Oh yeah, in the pithead baths." And I thought, "Oh, crikey." And it sort of played on my mind. I hope it wasn't a naked one, and he's looking for me, and he's gonna get me when he finds me. And she said, yeah, it was Ivor Religious in the foreground and my brother was in the background. And I went, oh yeah, the naked one, yeah, she said, we saw it in a magazine, it was published. And I said, yeah, and I was thinking, oh crikey, is a bit of a legal thing coming on here. And she actually said, oh, we went out, he bought quite a few of those magazines, and we all had copies of it, and he's got the photograph on the mantelpiece. And I was just so relieved at the time, but it was just so funny that he'd gone out, he'd bought quite a few of these copies, and probably today he's still got the photograph on the mantelpiece of him with Ivor Religious in the foreground and him naked. But that's the nature of the miners. They don't really care. They're really, really friendly. But when I took my portfolio to the picture editor of the Sunday Times, up in London, he started looking at the photographs of the pithead baths, and he said, wow, how did you get these pictures? And I told him a story where I was naked and I took pictures. And he said, well, when I was a working photographer, he actually went to the Yorkshire coalfield into the pithead baths, and the miners didn't like it, and they threw soap at him, and they didn't want to be photographed. So I was amazed by this, because in South Wales, I never got that sort of reaction, and all the miners were so friendly, and it was just one load of banter and fun. And most of the time I was taking pictures, I was just laughing my head off.